boxing news.
Okay, we'll start with this. Former unified bantamweight champion Dena Thorsland took to her social media and posted this lengthy caption in Danish, and because of the social media platform she chose to use, it was notoriously difficult to translate.
But through sophisticated and secret technologies, we were able to decipher the message.
You gotta remember, Instagram doesn't actually let you copy and paste somebody's posts. So to get the translation for this, it took some effort, but we here at Ring IQ are determined to deliver you the facts. And so the caption reads, 2 weeks ago, MVP had another huge event with lots of great matches, and especially AJ and Jake Paul, which drew lots of people. I especially had my eyes on her, who has my titles, Shernika Johnson. Nothing surprising came out of her winning, and I'm actually happy about that, because I'm looking forward to taking it all away from her in the spring. I'm going to win my match on the 31st at the end of this month, and then there's full focus on reclaiming what is mine. But just look at some of the scenes. They really live up to the name, Most Valuable. There was a sort of sarcastic and satirical tinge to Dena Thorsland's post on Instagram, because it actually starts with a video of Jake Paul at the time he gets his jaw broken by Anthony Joshua, posting that and keeping in mind that this is Dena's boss. This is the guy tasked with promoting her now and taking her career to the next level, also tasked with making the fight between her and Shernika. And you wonder that Dena doesn't feel slighted by him, by MVP, because, as stated, there was a sort of sarcastic tinge to her post. In the time that Dena Thorsland unfortunately miscarried and decided to resume her boxing career, by my count, MVP has scheduled 2 or 3 shows. Big ones. Some bigger than others, but I wondered, why wasn't Dena on any of those shows? Could you not have gotten her a spot on the undercard of Jake Paul versus Anthony Joshua? And if you couldn't get her a slot on that, that's fine. But why couldn't they get her a spot on Amanda Serrano's undercard? Just some stuff that was going through my mind, and I don't know what the time constraints were. I don't know what the behind-the-scenes situation really was, but I just got the distinct impression that Dena is angry. Not just at Shernika, but maybe at MVP, because she is fighting at the end of this month, but not on an MVP show. That for all the hullabaloo about all the girls that MVP signed, she still seems to have been left to her own devices, fighting in her native Denmark. I got the sense that maybe Dena's angry about that. So she's fighting Lila Furtado of Brazil after having sat out all of last year, a relatively aggressive customer. If you saw Lila's fight with Raven Chapman, if you saw Lila's fight with...
She put Raven on her back foot.
Lila's fight with Karis Artingstall.
She put Karis on her back foot too.
These are normally very aggressive fighters in their own right, but when they both fought Lila Furtado, she was the aggressive one. She put them on their back foot. She was backing them off. Lila's very persistent, very come forward. Perhaps not the biggest on form and function, but what she lacks in form and function, she makes up for in ferocity. Perhaps a great rehearsal for the fighter that Dena wants to fight after that, Shernika. It's also important to note that when Lila fought those fighters, it was at 126 pounds, not 118, where Dena and Shernika campaign. Lila normally campaigns at a heavier weight than they do. The fight that they're about to have is billed as a featherweight contest, and not only that, it's for a WBC interim title in the featherweight division. America's own Tiara Brown is the WBC featherweight champion, the full one. That's interesting. So what this essentially means is that if Dena Thorsland wins the fight at the end of this month, she will have not one, but 2 paths to an alphabet title. She can stay at 126 and force the issue with Tiara, or move down in weight and keep going after Shernika. Now, based on Dena's recent post, you know who she has on the brain. You know who she really wants. She wants Shernika. She wants her titles back. But not only that, she wants the other titles Shernika has as well. Then why fight for a WBC interim title at feather? Insurance policy, maybe? Maybe Dena thinks Shernika doesn't want to fight her. Maybe Dena thinks MVP will protect her. And if that's the case, she'll have that WBC interim title at feather
in her back pocket.
This fight with Leela Furtado actually is a good rehearsal for a Shernika Johnson fight if Dena can get it, because Leela Furtado is a very aggressive customer, and if you've been watching Shernika's fights as of late, she's become very aggressive as well, leaning more into pressure fighting than boxing.
When I first came across Shernika Johnson in action, she was more of a mover and more of a jabber, more of a boxer years ago, though over time, she's really leaned into this more aggressive style of fighting, and thus, if you can handle Leela Furtado at 126, then you can definitely handle Shernika at 118.
The question is, can Dena handle Leela at a higher weight? Having not boxed in over a year, makes for a very physical fight under normal circumstances. Dena knows exactly how to deal with a pressure fighter. She's faced one or two in the past. What makes this situation slightly different is that it's at a higher weight and she's been out for a while.
So we gotta see how she makes out.
Look for the ring return of Dena Thorsland at the end of this month, which now allows us to segue to what is fast becoming one of the most popular segments here on the channel, Ring IQ Hate Mail.
The continued fallout and collective butthurt over Business Insider's recent expose regarding Floyd Mayweather's debt and diminishing funds.
Some people don't want to believe it. A guy who goes by the name Mo Betta said, so taking comments from a random Japanese commentator and quote-unquote alleged facts?
Seems Mo Betta don't know better, cherry-picking his argument to tailor to his own preferences. The bit about the Japanese person's commentary was only the highlight that the Business Insider article is getting around, since you got a guy all the way in Japan talking about it. That was the point of that, which clearly went over your head.
But he wasn't able to address anything that the people at Business Insider said, and the people that they talked to, many of which dealt with Floyd Mayweather directly, like his old accountant and his old pilot, Don Henke, who Floyd borrowed a lot of money from, Bruce Gass, Boxing Jazz, and more said, yeah, and Turkey is broke too.
Oh, really? Are Turkey's old business associates coming forward and saying that he's out of cash, like Floyd's are? You can tell that this guy didn't get very far in life, and he's not going to, since you're likening Turkey LL Sheik to a mere prize fighter. Do you have any idea how much difference there is between the kind of money that the Saudis have and Floyd Mayweather? You think that Floyd's rolling in it? You think he's rich compared to them?
Floyd is a pauper. Compared to them, he's a panhandler, a dancing bear. But because you identify with him, you've taken offense, and you thought I'd be offended?
You think I got a stake in Turkey LL Sheik's money the way you've got a stake in Floyd's? I don't. Guy who goes by the name Illinois Force 1260 said, y'all want him to be broke so bad.
Wait, isn't that the same guy from before? Didn't he say that already?
Yes, he did. And I still, for the life of me, can't figure why he thinks I'd care if Floyd is broke or Floyd isn't broke. The only reason it's a prominent story is because Floyd Mayweather was single-handedly the highest paid boxer in the history of boxing. So when this is the same guy that owes so many people, including the IRS, so much money, it's gonna be a big story. Are you mad that we're talking about it?
Why are you mad?
People tend to think of poverty as a state of being. I tend to think of it as a state of mind. So there are many success stories that start off with impoverished individuals that figured out a way, where some rather just live vicariously through others.
Like these guys live vicariously through Floyd, to the point where they get offended if you bring up how much money he owes people and how many business endeavors he had that didn't pan out. So you don't find it at all odd that the guy who used to fly his plane said that he burned him and ruined a lot of professional relationships with his dubious business practices, or that he ended up selling said plane along with many of his properties?
How's he gonna find it odd? Do you think he actually read the Boxing Insider article? Do you think he has the attention span to make it all the way through it? Do you think he has the attention span to make it all the way through your video?
These guys are so dense, they don't even have the attention span to have the article read to them, narrated by someone else. Guy who goes by the name J. Larry White said, "Y'all are dumb as a box of rocks if you think Mayweather is broke."
You're dumb as a box of rocks if you think he can't go broke. He's spending money at the same rate that he used to when he was an active boxer, except he's not making what he was making when he was an active boxer. So you're burning through a lot of your liquid cash.
Some of your assets you've leveraged as collateral to borrow money from people. So you tell me, why would a guy who's supposed to be making $300 million a month need to borrow money from people? Need to borrow money from Don Henke?
Why would a guy who owns commercial real estate in downtown Manhattan, of all places,
Some of the most expensive real estate in the country, why would he need to borrow a few million from a Don Henke?
Look, we've already been all through those rhetorical questions and the reality of Floyd's finances. What we're highlighting here is the disbelief.
Floyd is a deity to some of these guys. Patron saint for anybody who comes from a crummy neighborhood somewhere in America. That's how they look at him. They've deified him. To where if me and you are having a conversation about Business Insider's recent expose on Floyd Mayweather's debts, they get mad at us for even having it.
Why are you mad?
Let me tell you something about Floyd Mayweather. He ain't got a lot in common with you.
He never spent no amount of time kissing nobody's ass from the ghettos in America more than he spends time kissing the Seinfelds' asses and the Goldsteins' asses, if you know what I mean.
He doesn't actually have a whole lot in common with you, and worse, that he doesn't want to. No matter how much you put him on a pedestal or how much you want to identify with him, the reality is, you shouldn't be losing your mind in the comment section of anybody's video based on who he owes money.
You're not his accountant, you're not his attorney. He's got people he actually pays for that, where you're sitting here trying to do it for free. And for what? Because it shakes your little reality?
The reality is that some of this came from his former accountant, who handled his finances up until the point he retired after the Berto fight. And I'd wager he knows a lot more about Floyd's finances than you guys do in the comments. So what the fuck am I gonna listen to you rubes for?
It all stems from childlike idol worship in tandem with parasocial relationships that unfortunate and disenfranchised individuals often form with public figures they might have one or some things in common with, as a means to urge themselves on. The light at the end of the tunnel, as it were, the ray of hope.
If Floyd can do it, and so can I.
While telling us that it's pathetic to wish ill upon him when nobody's doing that. These debts are real. All the sources cited, the people they spoke to, the documentation, and what's going on. It's all very real, not subject to feelings, they're facts. So that when you take a step back and put it all together to look at the bigger picture, looks like this guy's broke. Very close to going broke, and when you've made as much money as Floyd, you're not going to go broke overnight like Joe Blow.
It'll take a while, but the fact that Floyd Mayweather, after all these years of putting off a Pacquiao fight, is now willing to entertain it, you have to wonder what changed his mind.
Because he never wanted to do a rematch even when there was a lot of money in it.
Perhaps more than there is now, so that if he's warmed to that idea, gee, I wonder why. In men's heavyweight news, training footage of Tyson Fury has once again surfaced that looks like, irrespective of what's going on with Anthony, he means to mount a comeback. The issue is, without Anthony,
if the tragic accident earlier this week and losing his two compatriots, his two friends and members of his team, keeps him out of action for a while, what is Tyson Fury going to do? As some feel, Anthony will not return.
what he endured, what he survived, may be too much for him to still be interested in trivialities like boxing and a rivalry with Tyson Fury, which begs the question, if that turns out to be true, what does Tyson Fury do? Because Tyson Fury is at a point where only certain fights make sense for him, and we already know what the plan was before that fatal accident happened.
The powers that be wanted to put together the long-awaited Tyson Fury versus Anthony Joshua fight, which, even now that neither guy has a belt, is still worth a fuck ton of money. But what if Anthony doesn't fight?
So he was seen recently sparring WBC Bridgerweight champion and southpaw Kevin Lorena. I hope he's not gunning for a trilogy fight with Alexander Usyk, thereby using a southpaw to prepare, since Usyk is rumored to be facing Deontay Wilder in the spring, and he already beat you 2 times. We don't need to see a third.
You don't want one.
The truth is that Tyson Fury has only ever lost on paper to to one guy, the same guy, Alexander Usyk, and his name still yields enough marquee value that him versus Fabio Wardley or him versus Moses Italma is still worth a lot of money, just not as much as a Joshua fight. And I feel like if Fury actually considered coming out of retirement, it was for that fight. It was for the Joshua fight, not just any old buddy, not some young up-and-comer, some unbeaten fighter.
Even if you can sell it, the only way to get Fury out of retirement and back in the ring is for a Saudi bag. And the Saudis wanted to make the Joshua fight. But what fight are they going to make for Fury now if Joshua's out of the picture and out of commission?
Why is Fury sparring a southpaw? Does that lend some insight into who he is about to fight? Maybe it's not Usyk. Is there another southpaw out there that we don't know about?
Is Fury's next opponent a southpaw? Because AJ wasn't going to be his next fight anyway, and he wasn't going to be AJ's.
It was already widely reported that before the showdown between them happened, they would both have fights in the interim.
Moses Italma's a southpaw. You think old Fish Eyes Frank Warren wants to make a fight between Fury and Moses? I doubt it.
Moses is supposed to be fighting Jermaine Franklin very soon. After that, he may go into a fight with Murat Gassiev. More sensible and sensical sequence of fights for a fighter as young and as green as Moses than anything involving Fury. So even if Fury is sparring a southpaw and Moses is a southpaw, I don't see them two guys fight.
That ain't it.
I don't know what is. But Anthony potentially being out of commission for the foreseeable future to mourn his friends and psychologically try to recover from what he just endured, if he can, puts a Fury fight in jeopardy. And I know that in the greater scheme of things, a Fury fight is relatively unimportant. But if we're going to talk boxing,
addressing the boxing of it, because this is a boxing channel, that is what Fury was coming out of retirement for. We all know it.
So what's the contingency? What is the plan B for Tyson Fury if that falls through? Your guess is as good as mine.